I was with Julian for 5 years, from the time I turned 25 until my 30th birthday. I gave him everything he could possibly want. The money I spent on him was a fortune, enough to buy a comfortable 2-bedroom flat in the heart of the city outright. On the day I turned 30, I'd planned a grand proposal, meticulously arranging every detail. He looked utterly surprised. Marriage? Eleanor, I came here to break up. Just like that. And I agreed, just as I always had, unconditionally accepting every unreasonable demand he ever made. But I didn't stop there. I even sent him a replacement, a young woman barely 20, who bore a striking resemblance, maybe 70%, to the girl I used to be. It was the first day of Mercury retrograde, and the 7th day since the breakup. I went to Julian's apartment to bring him his allergy medication. The thought was clear in my mind during the drive. The breakup was final, yes, but I didn't want him dead. I rang the doorbell, but there was no answer. I waited outside his door, the hallway air still and quiet. The key code was 0913, my birthday. Julian wasn't the type to bother changing something like that within a mere week. But I didn't try the code, didn't even let my fingers hover over the keypad. We were broken up. A certain polite restraint felt necessary now. After waiting for over an hour, Julian finally returned. He wasn't alone. Eleanor? What are you doing here? He asked, his voice holding a note of carefully modulated surprise. I managed a slight curve of my lips, holding out the box of loratadine. Just bringing your allergy meds. The young woman beside him tried to subtly withdraw her hand from his arm, but he tightened his grip, holding her fast. It's just allergies, Julian, she murmured, though her eyes flickered towards me. He replied, his tone dismissive. I could have just ordered it online. You didn't need to come all this way. The smile didn't leave my face. Force of habit, I said, and it was the truth. I don't know if it was some strange cosmic alignment or just perpetually bad luck, but Julian always had an allergic reaction on the first day of Mercury retrograde. Sometimes it was dust, sometimes pet dander, sometimes I swear I suspected him of being allergic to water and air itself. His skin was pale, porcelain-like, and when the allergies hit, an angry red rash would bloom from behind his ears down his neck. In severe cases, he'd struggle to breathe. Julian moved to unlock the door. That's when I saw it, the mark on his neck. It wasn't the familiar speckle of an allergic rash. This was different. Deeper, darker. A fresh hickey blooming proudly against his pale skin. My carefully constructed smile faltered, finally cracking. My chest tightened, a fist clenching around my heart, stealing my breath. The girl beside him was even prettier in person than in the photos Ivy had sent. She had warm, wheat-toned skin, slightly wavy hair, and wore a simple black dress that perfectly accentuated her generous curves and slender waist. A genuine pang of appreciation hit me. She was beautiful, because she looked so much like I did at 20. Standing together, they looked like a perfectly matched pair, radiant and oblivious. Julian's pale, thin lips pressed together as he briefly lowered his gaze, avoiding mine. The girl took the opportunity to loop her arm more firmly through Julian's, shifting their grip so their fingers intertwined. Oh, thank you so much, Eleanor, she cooed, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Julian was just saying he forgot to pick up his medicine. You're so thoughtful. She leaned heavily on the name Eleanor, as if afraid I might miss the implied familiarity, the replacement. Julian shot her a quick glance, a familiar mix of indifference tinged with a hint of reprimand. She fell silent. He leaned closer to me then, his breath warm and deliberate against my ear. Want to come in for a bit? The girl stared at me, her eyes wide and challenging. I produced a smile that felt brittle but knowing. No thanks. My tolerance for this isn't quite that high. Then I turned on my heel and walked away, not daring to look back. I walked quickly, desperately, because I knew the mask of cool composure was about to shatter into a million pieces. Behind me, I heard the distinct sound of the girl's stifled giggle. The apartment he was entering was one I rented for him. The girl accompanying him inside was one I had hired. It was all my arrangement, my careful orchestration. And yet, standing on the pavement below, staring up at the newly illuminated window of his bedroom, the person crying silently, so hard she couldn't make a sound, was also me. Bringing the medicine was just a flimsy, pathetic excuse. Allergy pills were available at any corner pharmacy. Still, I had driven 40 kilometers, clinging to the pretense. Saying I was afraid he'd die was just bravado. The truth was the powerful side effect of Mercury retrograde nostalgia. A deep, aching pull towards the past. Those 5 years of genuine consuming love, how could they just vanish, just be over? A month earlier, the girl who had just walked into Julian's apartment, Ivy Fong, had come to my hot pot restaurant applying for a waitress position. She was freshly 20, a sophomore in college. Good grades, stunning looks, but her family situation wasn't great. 2 brothers back home, relying on her to earn money through work-study programs. Eleanor, if I had an older sister, I bet she'd be just like you. She greeted me warmly the moment we met, her eyes curving into bright crescents, revealing 2 faint, charming dimples. I'm a really hard worker. I promise I'll do a great job. My restaurant didn't typically hire part-timers, but I made an exception for her. It wasn't just the uncanny resemblance to my younger self. It was something else I saw in her eyes, a shrewdness, an ambition that belied her cheerful demeanor. I gently placed a hand on my abdomen, feeling the slight, almost imperceptible swell. I can offer you 20,000 a month, I said slowly, evenly. But not to be a waitress. She looked up, her expression a mixture of confusion and keen anticipation. My request was simple. Pose as a wealthy heiress, the daughter of a real estate tycoon. Seduce my 25-year-old younger brother, Julian. Make it passionate, intense. Within 2 months, she needed to make him declare his love publicly, propose marriage even. You don't have to actually marry him, I clarified. The moment he proposes, your job is done. I'll give you an extra 100,000 bonus. Whether you stay or go after that is entirely up to you. Ivy didn't jump at the offer. Wow, what did this brother do to you? Are you trying to ruin him? Aren't you afraid he'll be traumatized? Or, she tilted her head, a spark of mischief in her eyes. Is he so unfortunate looking that you have to hire someone to date him? I scrolled through my phone and found a picture of Julian, handing it to her. Ivy let out an exaggerated gasp. Oh my, are you sure you don't need me to pay you 100,000 for the privilege of pursuing him? I smiled. So are you in? Deal. Truthfully, I didn't have a specific outcome pinned to this plan. Would Julian quickly fall for the young, beautiful, wealthy girl? Or would he, against all odds, prove loyal to me? Human nature rarely withstands such tests. My scheme was simply creating an escape route. Before I could throw myself headlong down the path of devotion, bleeding and bruised, without a second thought. But not anymore. Things had changed. That evening, Julian emerged from the shower, towel drying his hair, and settled against the pillows, half reading a book, half replying to messages on his phone. The warm lamplight cast a soft, almost fuzzy glow on him, enhancing the smooth jade-like quality of his complexion. I was in the bathroom, staring at the 2 stark red lines on the pregnancy test. I took 10 deep breaths before finally walking into the bedroom. Clad in a thin silk nightgown, I climbed onto the bed, wrapped my arms around his waist, and buried my head against his chest. He turned a page, then rubbed his chin gently against the top of my head. Why are you so cold? I didn't answer, just shifted closer, seeking his lips. His lips were thin, possessing a natural severity when he wasn't smiling, but they were incredibly soft to the touch. The corners of his eyes drooped slightly, giving him a perpetually innocent, almost puppy-like look, no matter what cruel thing he might be doing. He put down his book, his hand coming to rest on my waist, tracing gentle patterns. His touch felt searingly hot against my cool skin. A soft whimper escaped me. He controlled his impatience, his kisses becoming light and feathery, landing on my forehead, my eyelids. Tears began to slide down my cheeks, following the path of his kisses. What's wrong? He murmured, cupping my face in his hands. Julian, I whispered, my voice thick with unshed tears. I'm pregnant. His hand stilled. But wasn't it supposed to be the safe period? Was it that one night? Julian, let's get married. I was smiling through my tears, looking directly into his eyes, searching for something, anything. He looked back at me, his brow furrowing. The desire that had flickered in his eyes moments before vanished, replaced by a clear, sharp coolness. A chill spread through me, deeper than the cool silk against my skin. He gently brushed away the strands of hair plastered to my face by tears, pulling me into an embrace. Eleanor, he began, his voice soft, soothing. This isn't the right time for a child. I enjoy our time together, just us. Much more than the idea of starting a family right now. We have such a long, long future ahead of us. He spun beautiful poetic words to mask the cruelest lie. We had no future. From the time he was 20 until he turned 25, I had been the invisible woman by his side. I never appeared in any of Julian's social circles, never featured on his carefully curated social media. He maintained the image of a brilliant, eligible single man. After all, I wasn't worthy. Julian was a top graduate from one of the country's most prestigious universities. I, on the other hand, had started working right after high school. Even after supporting him financially and emotionally for 5 years, I wasn't deemed worthy of the title Julian's girlfriend, let alone audacious enough to dream of marrying him. He continued his hypnotic painting of a beautiful future, but his words washed over me unheard. Let's schedule an appointment for next week. Get it taken care of. Sure, don't cry, be good. That sentence cut through the haze. My tears stopped abruptly. I didn't argue. Didn't protest. I didn't even tell him the most important reason I cherished this barely there life inside me, because it was his. Our child. The child of the man I loved. But none of that mattered anymore. Don't overthink it, Elle, he murmured sleepily, pulling me closer. It'll be okay. The procedures are very safe now, it won't hurt. Okay, was my only response, a quiet whisper in the dark. Julian sighed, a sound of profound relief, and soon drifted off to sleep, holding me tight. I remained awake, staring into the darkness until my phone screen lit up. It was a message from Ivy. Subject is very enthusiastic. Chatted half the night. He suddenly stopped replying, but we already confirmed dinner for tomorrow. I typed back. Pick a Michelin-starred place. You pay. Order the most expensive things on the menu. I transferred $20,000 to Ivy's account. As the confirmation flashed on the screen, a heavy weight seemed to lift, then settle deep in my gut. Julian was already making his choice. He was right. We would both have bright futures. Just not together. Sleep was fitful that night. I dreamed of my wedding with Julian. It was on a beach, tall palm trees swaying gently, the sand covered in a thick carpet of pale Austin roses. Julian knelt before me, offering the ring. The officiant recited the familiar words. If anyone present knows any reason why this couple should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. One person stood up. Then another. Then a third. Trying to trap him with a baby? Look at yourself, are you even worthy? Even if the Zhong family has fallen on hard times, it's not for some nouveau riche woman to climb into. A high school graduate? What kind of idiot child will she produce? Finally, Ivy stood up too, flashing a huge diamond ring on her hand. I object. Julian already proposed to me. This is bigamy. Bullshit. I yelled, tearing off my veil. Everything he has today I built for him with my own blood, sweat, tears, and cold hard cash. Who the hell are you people? But before the satisfying confrontation could truly unfold, the sunny beach was abruptly swallowed by a monstrous tsunami, engulfing everyone. I woke with a jolt, cold sweat soaking my back, momentarily disoriented, unable to distinguish dream from reality. Barefoot, I walked to the bathroom and sank onto the cold tile floor, hugging my knees. How dare they say I wasn't worthy? Julian was the golden boy, the chosen one, yes. But when I met him, he was lost, adrift, practically homeless. For 5 years, every shred of material comfort, every polished facet of his life, I had provided. From the small things. A pair of Burberry socks, the latest iPhone and MacBook, bags from LV and Balenciaga. To the big things. The apartment he lived in, the car he drove, even the fabricated soft background materials for his overseas study application. If I had $10, I'd spend $11 on him without hesitation. I looked down at my own hands, knuckles slightly enlarged, palms calloused, faint burn scars tracing patterns on my forearms. These were not the hands of someone coddled by privilege. Since I was 18, I've been fighting my way through the world. From apprentice chef to head chef, from partner to entrepreneur. Everything I had, I earned myself. If anyone in this world had the right to judge me for this relationship, it was only me. Only I could decide if it wasn't worth it. No one else could tell me I wasn't worthy. Not even Julian. The next morning, I left for the hot pot restaurant before Julian even stirred. As I walked in, bright laughter echoed from the main dining area. Ivy, brandishing a cleaning cloth, waved enthusiastically. Morning, Eleanor. What are you doing here? I asked, genuinely confused. It's a holiday today. Figured the restaurant might get busy, so I came in early to help clean up. Manager Lynn, our shift supervisor, chuckled and patted Ivy's head affectionately. This girl, Ivy, she's fantastic. Hardworking, quick-witted. If we had more like her, my job would be a breeze. I still didn't get it. Ivy leaned closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. Eleanor, you're paying me so much. I feel bad just lounging around. Consider the brother thing my side gig. I can still work my shifts here. I pressed my fingers to my temples. What if Julian finds out? Your current identity is the sole daughter of CEO Fong of Fong Corporation Real Estate. What's she doing waitressing in a hot pot joint? Ivy blinked innocently. Ah, you don't understand, Eleanor. Rich people don't just sit at home sipping bird's nest soup all day. A pampered young miss working a part-time job to experience life? Think of the adorable contrast. And since when do you know how rich people live? I countered, skeptical. Relax, Eleanor. I've already read the top 50 questions about wealthy people on Quora. My knowledge base is practically at the earns $1 million a year level now. I'll cram a few trashy CEO romance novels this afternoon. Guarantee mission success. I couldn't help but laugh, glancing pointedly at her ripped jeans and oversized t-shirt. Are you sure you're not training to be a secret agent? You could probably fit another person under that shirt. Ivy threw her hands up in mock surrender. Okay. I'll get changed and put on makeup later. Geez, all this fuss just to have dinner with a guy, she muttered. Under her breath. Seeing I wasn't actually angry, she immediately linked her arm through mine. I made you congee with pork and century egg. Eat it while it's hot. I gently pulled my arm away. Ivy, the person you need to charm is Julian. Wasting your efforts on me won't get you a raise. Exactly. So I'm not trying to charm you, she retorted, placing the steaming bowl in front of me. With a flick of her ponytail, she went back to her work. Her playful energy managed to dispel much of the gloom from the previous night. I took a spoonful of the congee. It was delicious. That afternoon, Julian texted to say he had a client meeting and wouldn't be home for dinner. Around the same time, Ivy emerged, transformed in her little black dress, adorned with a full set of chrome hearts jewelry. She gave me a conspiratorial wink and headed off to her date with gusto. I drove back to the apartment I shared, or used to share, with Julian. I started making winter melon and pork rib soup. Julian didn't actually eat the ribs, but he loved the tender melon and the clear, degreased broth. I'd made this dish countless times, but today everything went wrong. First, I burned the ribs while searing them. Then I scalded my index finger, raising a shiny, painful blister. Defeated, I poured the ruined soup down the drain and sat on the sofa, waiting for Julian to come home. Just after 11 p.m., Ivy sent me a few pictures. I'd barely processed them when Julian walked in. I took his briefcase, leaning in slightly, inhaling subtly. Seafood tonight? Kaiseki, he confirmed. Cold, fussy food, fiddly shells. Not nearly as good as your cooking. Thinking of the pictures Ivy had just sent, Julian meticulously peeling sweet shrimp for her. A wave of nausea mixed with disgust washed over me. Goosebumps prickled up my scalp. It took every ounce of my willpower to maintain the slight curve of my lips. Do you know what day it is today? I asked, changing the subject. Julian paused, looking blank. I gave his arm a playful little shake, forcing a coquettish tone. It's Chishi Festival. How could you go out to dinner with someone else today? Predictably, Julian didn't indulge my act. Be reasonable, Eleanor. It was business. I'll buy you a new bag next time as compensation. A bitter laugh almost escaped me. His idea of compensation was using my money, drawn from the supplementary card I provided him, to buy me a bag? Julian leaned in and kissed my cheek lightly. I'm a bit tired. Going to take a shower. Okay. I agreed readily. My performance was wearing thin anyway. While Julian showered, I sat in the living room and opened the pictures Ivy had sent again. She'd posted them to her private social feed. 6 photos in total. The first 5 showcased exquisite Japanese dishes. The last one was a candid shot of Julian, angled slightly away. He was completely absorbed in peeling a pile of sweet shrimp, his expression focused. In front of Ivy sat a small mountain of perfectly peeled, glistening pink shrimp meat. Her caption read, "When golden wind and jade do conspire, a single meeting surpasses countless unions in the mortal world." Julian had liked the post. My reply to Ivy, "That's it?" Ivy's response came back in a rapid-fire burst. "Eleanor, I didn't lift a finger all night." He peeled 2 whole plates of shrimp for me, grilled 3 servings of wagyu. I even got soy sauce on my lip and he wiped it off with a napkin. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Haste makes waste. What is this thing called love that transcends the need for constant presence? Even through the screen, I could practically feel her animated gestures, accompanying the flurry of mismatched poetic phrases. I gently blew on the blister on my finger, the stinging pain a dull counterpoint to the ache in my chest. Okay, I typed back, keep up the good work. She sent back a gif of a husky nodding vigorously. Happy festival, Eleanor. Good night. Happy festival. It was Chishi, the lover's festival. My lover had forgotten. The rival I hired was wishing me well. Ivy had mangled so many classic poems in her texts, but the one she chose for her post, that one hit its mark with deadly precision. My high school Chinese scores were always top of the class. I remembered the interpretation clearly. A single meeting on the Chishi night of autumn wind and white dew surpasses the unions of countless earthly couples who merely endure life together, their hearts estranged. I overslept the next morning. When I groggily opened my eyes, Julian was already dressed, his belt buckled, the top button of his crisp shirt fastened, neatly concealing the faint, telltale reddish mark on his collarbone. He looked exceptionally good in formal wear. Years of working hadn't added an ounce of fat or a hint of sleaze. He remained lean, handsome, with that touch of fragile beauty reminiscent of a young Timothée Chalamet, an alluring mix of adult masculinity and boyish vulnerability. My long-standing devotion to him, I reflected wryly, was probably just lust clouding my judgment. No breakfast today? He frowned slightly, glancing towards the kitchen. I started the habitual apology, then caught myself. Right, I corrected smoothly. Sorry about that. Why don't you grab something from KFC downstairs? He froze, turning his head to stare at me. I beamed, my eyes crinkling at the corners, and gave a dismissive little wave. Better get to work. Bye now. With that, I snuggled back down into the warm cocoon of the duvet. He left, closing the door softly behind him. It was almost funny. When I catered to his every whim, he treated me with casual disregard. Now that I showed a flicker of indifference, he was suddenly mindful of closing the door gently. Tucked under the covers, I messaged Ivy. Speed things up. Don't you want your money? The furtiveness of it all felt absurd. As if I were the one having the affair, not Julian. Ivy replied instantly. Morning, Eleanor. Smiley face. If you need results now, I can just sleep with him tonight. It took me a full 30 seconds, clutching my chest, to type back 8 carefully chosen words. Proceed gradually. Steady progress wins the race. Roger that. 2 days before my birthday, Julian fell completely. The entire process took only 28 days. Was it Ivy's acting skills that were truly superb, or was Julian's eagerness to climb the social ladder simply that desperate? The business reception where they met was my arrangement. Many prominent figures from the city were there. It wasn't difficult, through a well-connected friend, to slip a fake debutante into the mix. The real CEO Feng's family supposedly traced its wealth back 5 generations, primarily in real estate and petrochemicals, with a net worth like a string of lottery numbers. And yes, he did have a daughter, who had been living abroad for years. Ivy was posing as this very Miss Feng, recently returned due to the pandemic. At the reception, the ultra-rich Miss Feng and the talented young executive Julian apparently experienced love at first sight. 28 days. Their whirlwind romance burned hot. Miss Feng decided Julian was a potential stock worth investing in. Ready to marry him immediately, bringing her billion-dollar inheritance into the union. Julian's heart predictably soared. That very evening he posted a picture on his social media, blocking me naturally. A close-up of his hand holding a woman's hand. On the woman's left middle finger glittered a dazzling ring, the central diamond, surrounded by smaller stones, collectively the size of a rock sugar crystal. The background featured the unmistakable plush blue velvet of a ring box, open to display the gleaming silver logo, Harry Winston. I checked the credit card statements. Julian's supplementary card showed a charge of 250,000 yuan a day earlier. He'd told me it was for stock investments, but the transaction location was a high-end department store. I couldn't believe he'd be sloppy enough to leave such an obvious trail, intelligent as he was. The only explanation was that he couldn't even be bothered to invent a plausible lie anymore. After all, he was about to ascend to the heavens as the son-in-law of immense wealth. Why would a paltry few 100,000 matter? After forwarding me the screenshot of Julian's post, Ivy bombarded me with messages. Eleanor, does this count as mission accomplished? Eleanor, I did it in less than half the time. Is there a bonus for speed? Laughing face. Eleanor, this ring is crazy expensive. It costs more than my final bonus payment. Sad kitty face emoji. What if I just take the diamond and run? LOL. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Honestly, cash is way more tempting to me than sparkly rocks. Besides, I really do think of you as my sister now. A chaotic jumble of thoughts raced through my mind. I hadn't expected Julian to be quite this extravagant. What if Ivy decided to switch sides now? This game of throwing money around wasn't one a modest hot pot restaurant owner could sustain. I replied calmly. If you like the ring, keep it. My birthday is the day after tomorrow. I'd like to invite Miss Fong to attend. Please arrange your schedule. I subtly reminded Ivy that she wasn't the real Miss Fong. Okie dokie. Smiley face. Ivy replied instantly, seemingly carefree and oblivious. It was time. Time for a reckoning. My goal wasn't revenge on Julian. It was simply to reclaim everything I had poured into him, everything that was rightfully mine. The birthday dinner was set at a Western restaurant overlooking a serene lake. The space was decorated with 520 pale pink Austin roses. Eerily similar to the scene in my dream. I wore a strapless little black dress with a flowing train, a simple pearl necklace, and carefully applied makeup, finishing with a bold swipe of Tom Ford's smoked red lipstick. A live band was playing, warming up the already buzzing atmosphere. Many people had come, my friends, but also crucially Julian's friends and colleagues. Julian arrived, looking effortlessly stylish in a dark, casual suit. Slim waist, long legs, eyelashes so long they resembled tiny fans, fluttering slightly, exuding that captivating blend of ascetic fragility and raw temptation. Spotting several of his childhood friends and even his direct supervisor in the crowd, Julian visibly faltered. Why are they here? He asked, his voice tight. The more the merrier. Plus, there's a surprise later. I winked, strategically holding my Chanel clutch in front of my abdomen. His eyes darted to my stomach, his brow furrowing. Haven't you scheduled the doctor's appointment yet? My smile remained fixed. I'm actually feeling quite happy today. Can you please not spoil the mood? I thought I was prepared, braced for anything. But hearing him mention it with the same casual tone one might use for taking out the trash, it felt like a dull knife twisting slowly in my heart. He put an arm around my waist, leaning close to whisper in my ear. I'm just worried about you, Elle. I don't want you to be in pain if you wait too long. Julian. I looked directly into his eyes, searching, pleading one last time. Are there really no other options for us? Yes, even at this late stage. A foolish flicker of hope persisted. What's gotten into you now? We already agreed, didn't we? Be good, don't be scared. I'll go with you when the time comes, he murmured, tucking a stray strand of hair behind my ear, patting my shoulder in a placating gesture. Okay, I understand. My smile widened, crinkling the corners of my eyes. Excuse me, I need to touch up my makeup. I turned abruptly and strode towards the restroom. The moment the lock clicked shut behind me, huge fat tears finally broke free, spilling down my cheeks. When I emerged, the birthday cake was already being presented. Just as the 30 candles were lit, Ivy arrived. Eleanor. Happy birthday. She beamed, radiant in a white off-the-shoulder cocktail dress. The star-shaped diamond earrings she wore glittered, as did the enormous ring on her left middle finger, catching the light with every small movement. I was starting to think you weren't coming. I enveloped Ivy in a warm hug, resting my head briefly on her shoulder. Over her head, I watched Julian swirl the wine in his glass, his face pale, almost translucent. A grim amusement flickered within me. Ivy handed me a beautifully wrapped gift box and then stood demurely beside Julian, giving him a small, almost imperceptible nod of greeting. Julian's face grew even paler, if possible. Excuse me for a moment, Julian murmured to the surrounding guests, then gripped my wrist, pulling me firmly towards the exit. He didn't let go until we reached the deserted lakeshore outside. Eleanor, what the hell are you playing at? He hissed, his voice low and furious. Shouldn't I be asking you that question, Julian? Anyone watching might think I was the one having the affair. His pupils dilated, shock registering plainly on his face. The sun was beginning to set, casting golden shimmers across the water's surface. Backlit by the dying light, his silhouette looked warm, familiar. Yet his features were obscured, lost in shadow. You know? He asked quietly. Yes. I didn't mean to cheat. But she represents the optimal path for me. You know, my father always wanted me to restore the family's name, our fortunes. Enough, Julian. I cut him off, my voice sharp. Restoring the family name by marrying into wealth? If your father could hear you now, he'd probably rise from the grave out of sheer filial piety-induced shock. Pulled a folded document from my clutch, the contract I'd had drawn up along with a pen, and handed them to him. The proposal ceremony is all set for tonight. Sign this, and I'll attend as your supportive older sister. Julian unfolded the papers, scanned them quickly, then looked up at me, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Eleanor, you don't need to treat me like a thief. Everything that's yours is yours, including me. I laughed, a short, harsh sound. Yes, I'm taking back what's mine. Everything except you. What value do you even have now? And if I don't sign? Fine. Then in a little while, everyone inside will get a lovely retrospective of our 5-year relationship. They'll learn you're about to become a father. How do you think your chances of entering the esteemed Fong family threshold will look then? Julian turned his head, staring out at the darkening lake, silent. I can swim, by the way, I added conversationally. And there are security cameras everywhere. So don't bother contemplating throwing me in. Eleanor Chan, he said softly, using my full name for the first time in years. You seem to have gotten sharper these past few years. You were always so compliant, so agreeable. I almost forgot your true nature is all spice and fire. After all, the first time I met you, you were all claws and fury, fiercer than any woman I knew. Then why did you step in front of me back then? I countered quietly. Why did you take that beer bottle for me? My fingers instinctively reached out, gently touching the back of his head, feeling the faint, raised line of the scar hidden beneath his short, bristly hair. Nearly 10 centimeters long. Does it still hurt sometimes? He shook his head mutely. Julian, I whispered, my hand moving to cup his cheek. Did you ever truly love me? Or, my voice caught slightly, did you also think I wasn't worthy? He placed his hand over mine, closing his eyes, leaning almost imperceptibly into my touch, rubbing his cheek against my palm like a cat seeking comfort. I sighed a deep, shuddering breath, the desperate urge to hold on ward with the stark reality of helplessness. But I couldn't kneel and beg him to love me. My pride wouldn't allow it. Back inside the restaurant, dusk had fully settled. I gathered everyone around the cake, lit the candles again, and closed my eyes to make a wish. Ever since meeting Julian, every single birthday wish had revolved around loving him, keeping him. This time was different. Knowing someone is leaving, saying I love you one more time doesn't erase the regrets, doesn't change the ending. As I blew out the candles, the lights brightened. I reached out and took Julian's hand, standing on my left. Actually, I announced, my voice clear and steady, besides it being my birthday, there's something else very special I'd like you all to witness tonight. I've dreamed of this moment so many times, surrounded by my dearest friends, and the person I love most. The ultimate destination for a love story. Bang! Fireworks suddenly erupted outside the window. Gasps and excited cries filled the room. Wow! Look at that! In the momentary distraction, I reached for Ivy's hand on my right. My younger brother, Julian, I declared, my voice ringing out above the noise, is proposing to Miss Ivy Fong. Spotlights converged on the three of us. I brought their hands together, placing Ivy's firmly in Julian's grasp. Julian stood frozen, stiff as a block of wood. Ivy stared at me, her mouth agape. Eleanor, wait, this isn't. Pop! Confetti cannons exploded, showering us in a rain of glittering gold foil and flower petals. Ha 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 ha! Congratulations! They look so beautiful together. Isn't this just like a scene from a drama? A wave of well-wishers surged forward, engulfing them in congratulations. I took a step back, then another. Ivy tried to reach for my hand, her fingers grasping air as the crowd pushed her forward, separating us. I kept retreating, backing away until I reached the edge of the throng. Outside, the fireworks continued their brilliant, ephemeral display. The air inside was thick with the sweet, heavy fragrance of roses. This was the scene I had dreamed of in a twisted way. The culmination of a love story. One that was passionate, sincere, and ultimately doomed. I didn't know how to say goodbye, so I said nothing at all. I turned and walked away. Behind me, the cooling ashes of the fireworks drifted down, like fading memories. The next morning, I was jolted awake by furious pounding on my apartment door. Damn it. All that money spent on property management fees, and I still couldn't get a decent night's sleep. Who is it? I yelled groggily. I pulled open the door to find Ivy. She was still wearing the white dress from the party, her eyeliner smudged into dark circles like a panda's, her hair sticking out in chaotic tufts. Eleanor, Julian isn't your brother. He's your boyfriend, isn't he? Ah well. I stammered, momentarily lost for words. She wasn't asking though. Her tone was accusatory, certain. Why did you announce the proposal in front of everyone? That wasn't what we agreed on, was it? Why did you sneak away last night? Why did you just leave me there alone? What do you take me for? My head started to spin. So many questions. Where to even begin? What do I take you for? I echoed weakly. Ivy faltered for a second, turning her head away. Take me for your sister. The last two words were barely audible. I leaned closer instinctively. What was that? She flinched back slightly, looking down at her feet. I knew, she mumbled. The way you look at him, you can't fake that. How could he possibly be just your brother? But then why did you hire me? He kissed me last night, did you see? Don't you love him? I managed a weak smile. Love him? Yes. Loved him for years. A heavy lethargy suddenly washed over me, my body feeling dense, submerged in thick warm water. Yet my skin was icy cold. Clammy sweat broke out on my forehead. Maybe it was lack of sleep or getting up too quickly, low blood sugar perhaps. I had seen Julian kiss her last night. Ivy in her white dress, surrounded by cheering well-wishers, kissing him. I saw it all. Eleanor, are you okay? Ivy's voice sharpened with sudden alarm. She lunged forward, catching me around the waist just as my legs buckled. My body slid downwards uncontrollably. You're bleeding. Ivy cried out, her voice tight with panic. My lips moved, forming words I could barely voice. Save the baby. I woke up in a hospital bed. A warm water bottle rested gently against the hand with the foredrip, its temperature just right. Ivy was slumped beside me, asleep, her head resting near my shoulder. Her makeup was even more disastrous now. Eyelashes clumped like spider legs, foundation patchy and uneven. I tried to move my other hand, reaching instinctively for my belly. The small movement woke her instantly. She gripped my hand tightly. It's okay, Eleanor. You're okay. The baby's okay too. Thank you, Ivy. You've worked hard. I murmured, my voice raspy. I gently brushed at the mascara smudges beneath her eyes. Why didn't you wash your face? You look like a little monkey. Her eyes reddened instantly, her grip on my hand tightening almost painfully. It was nothing, Eleanor. You scared me half to death. The early autumn air had turned cool, and the hospital room felt chilly without heating. I was tucked warmly under the blankets, but Ivy was still in her thin cocktail dress, goosebumps standing out on her bare arms. I reached out, smoothing her tangled curls, rubbing her cold arm gently. She pulled away slightly, turning to pour me a glass of warm water. Feeling any better? Yes. Eleanor. I still don't understand. I took small sips of water, collecting my thoughts. Then I told her a story, a cliché love story. I have this friend. In essence, the golden boy whose family went bankrupt meets the fiery girl from the hot pot restaurant. That night, the fiery girl gets harassed by customers. A group of righteous college students intervene, a brawl ensues. The golden boy shields the fiery girl, taking a beer bottle to the back of his head. After trips to the hospital and the police station, the golden boy refuses to leave, claiming he has nowhere to go. So the fiery girl takes him back to her cramped staff dormitory. The fiery girl isn't sure if the golden boy loves her, but he embodies everything she finds attractive. She works incredibly hard, blessed with good luck, and builds a successful business within a few years. She treasures the golden boy, puts him on a pedestal, spoils him rotten, even though he never publicly acknowledges their relationship. He wants to study abroad, get an MBA. To bolster his application profile, the fiery girl registers her beloved hot pot restaurant, the fruit of all her labor, under his name. Later, due to the pandemic, his study abroad plans fall through. He moves from Beijing to Chengdu to be with her. The fiery girl is ecstatic, leveraging all her connections to help him professionally. This fiercely independent woman, so decisive in the business world, becomes utterly soft and vulnerable when it comes to him, like an oyster revealing its tender flesh. Then the fiery girl gets pregnant. Just before that, she discovers the golden boy is already making moves to sell her restaurant. He is the sole registered legal owner. They have no private agreement. So the fiery girl hires another young woman to play the part of a wealthy heiress and get close to the golden boy. Did you get the transfer agreement signed? Ivy asked quietly, her voice cutting through my narrative haze. Yes. Just before the cake cutting. Ivy was too sharp. While I was still lost in the melodrama of my own story, she had already zeroed in on the crucial practical point. This was a real-life love story. Once the intoxicating passion faded, what mattered most were the tangible assets, the bottom line. That was what my elaborate plan was truly about, reclaiming what was mine. A man could be lost, but her career, her independence could not. As Shi Bao famously said, if you can't have lots and lots of love, then having lots and lots of money is good too. Do you still love him? Ivy pressed gently. I don't know, I deflected. My friend doesn't know. Then why were you so desperate to save the baby? I didn't answer. Eleanor, Ivy sighed, taking the empty water glass from my hand, tucking the blanket more securely around me. I have no right to make decisions for you. But maybe I could help you see if he truly loves you. Get some more sleep, she whispered. I spent several days in the hospital. My physical condition was precarious. The doctor ordered strict bed rest. Ivy stayed with me most of the time. She didn't talk much, but her actions were incredibly thoughtful. When she occasionally had to leave, she arranged for manager Lin from the restaurant to come and sit with me. I drifted in a hazy state, feeling like I was living through a long fragmented dream, reliving snapshots of the past 5 years. The sweet moments, the bitter ones, all jumbled together. Julian sent a barrage of messages. Apologies, asking if I was okay. I didn't reply to any of them. Until the first day of Mercury retrograde, the 7th day since our official breakup. When one message arrived, Eleanor, it's been raining the last couple of days. The scar on the back of my head keeps aching. I miss you. 7. A cycle completed. A fated number, often bringing trials. I asked manager Lin to leave, changed out of the shapeless hospital gown, applied makeup to hide my pallor, grabbed the box of loratadine and drove to his apartment. I manufactured countless justifications in my head. The breakup was real, but I couldn't just let him suffer, maybe even die, from an allergic reaction. The result was what you read at the beginning. That confrontation in the hallway. I knew Ivy had staged it, deliberately showing me Julian with the other girl. The hickey, the intertwined fingers, the easy intimacy. But whether Julian loved me or not, the answer was already starkly clear. Standing on the street below, staring up at his lit window, I cried until no sound came out, just silent, racking sobs that tore through me. My chest felt like a vast, empty cavern, wind howling through the void. Something precious, something fervent and true inside me had just died. A violent wave of nausea hit me. I doubled over, dry heaving, feeling like I was trying to expel my very organs, gasping for air until black spots danced before my eyes. As I started to fall, a slender, warm hand wrapped around me, holding me steady. The baby couldn't be saved. When I woke up in the hospital again, no one needed to tell me. The moment I opened my eyes, I felt in profound emptiness, an intuitive knowledge that something precious was gone. Ivy sat by my bedside, holding my hand, her eyes wide and unblinking, fixed on me as if afraid I might vanish. Seeing my eyes open, she squeezed my hand tighter. Ow! I winced. Eleanor, where does it hurt? Your stomach? Your head? She asked frantically. SSS. You're squeezing my hand too tight. Oh. She immediately loosened her grip, looking down guiltily at the white marks her fingers had left on my skin. I couldn't help a weak, watery smile. She leaned forward, cradling my hand gently, blowing softly on the marks. There. All better, pain, go away. Hot tears splashed onto the back of my hand. One drop, then another, then a steady stream. I'm so sorry, Eleanor. It's all my fault. I just wanted you to see what a bastard he was, to help you let go. I never wanted to hurt you or the baby. How could I hurt you? Her words dissolved into broken sobs. She buried her face against my chest, crying uncontrollably, her small body shaking. I gently stroked her surprisingly coarse, curly hair, silent tears streaming down my own face. The baby was less than 3 months along. I knew how I'd lived these past weeks. The stress, the emotional turmoil, the sleepless nights. I hadn't taken care of myself. I hadn't taken care of my baby. For this outcome, I blamed no one. I looked up out the window. Autumn had arrived. The sky was a deep, brilliant blue, dotted with white clouds that gathered and dispersed and gathered again. Life's meetings and partings were just like that, weren't they? Perhaps my little one had peeked down through the clouds, looked at this world for a moment, decided heaven was more fun, and simply turned back. Ivy's tears soaked through my gown, warming the spot over my heart. I looked back down at her. This was my reality now. This imperfect, messy human connection. This was my world. Ivy went a little crazy after that. I must have told her 1,000 times, "It's not your fault," but she insisted on carrying a mountain of guilt heavier than Mount Chingcheng. Its primary manifestation was taking care of me, meticulously, treating me like fragile porcelain, catering to my every whim. If I could think of it, she'd already done it. If I couldn't, she'd anticipate it. Her daily routine consisted of 3 things: simmering nourishing soups for me, reminding me to take my vitamins and supplements, and staring at me with the wet, innocent, pleading eyes of a lost puppy. I was going crazy too. Staring at the bowl of freshly steamed bird's nest soup she presented, I finally snapped, throwing the spoon down. No more. No more. Feel my stomach. Ivy, I have 3 rolls now. What are you trying to do? Fatten me up for a feature on the Agricultural Channel about successful pig farming. She didn't say a word, just looked at me, her eyes welling up. Here it comes, I thought. The guilt trip expression. Always deployed when I resisted her ministrations. The infuriating part was, it worked. Every single time. I gulped down the entire bowl of bird's nest soup, then collapsed back onto the bed with a loud burp. My eyes scanned the array of expensive imported supplements lined up on the bedside table, making my head ache. I decided to try a different tactic. Ivy, seriously. The money I gave you must be running low by now, right? Wasn't it you who said rich people don't eat bird's nest soup every day? If I keep consuming these high-end tonics, are you going to have to start selling blood? Ivy shot me a glare. None of your business, she retorted. But then her hand instinctively reached out to pat my now rounded belly, a look of deep satisfaction crossing her face. I swear I saw a flicker of something distinctly maternal, no grandmotherly, in her eyes. Oh God. It was the exact same look my own grandmother gave me. After half a month of intense nurturing and an 8-pound weight gain, I was officially recovered. Physically anyway. Mentally, I'd become lethargic, content to lounge around the apartment, lacking motivation. It wasn't entirely my fault. Ivy was just too damn competent. During the day, she ensured I ate well and rested properly. At night, she went to the restaurant, handled inventory, balanced the books. I hadn't set foot in the place for weeks, yet miraculously, there hadn't been a single hiccup. In fact, the table turnover rate had actually increased by 0.3%. I started to suspect I'd accidentally hired a business prodigy. Maybe the next Sheryl Sandberg? I asked her seriously one day. Ivy, your surname really is Fong, right? Of course. What do you mean? She seemed oddly nervous. Well, is your mother's surname Dong by any chance? Referencing Dong Mingzhu, a famous Chinese businesswoman. My mom's surname is Wang. Eleanor, I think you need to take your medicine. Hey, my name isn't Wu Dalong, a historical figure known for being poisoned. I didn't know why, but being around her made me feel goofy and slightly dim-witted. Life felt comfortable, easy, like a cat purring contentedly while getting its chin scratched. If only Julian hadn't decided to resurface. I thought all the pain was behind me, neatly compartmentalized. It started around 2 a.m. Constant calls. Voice calls. Video calls. I rejected them all one by one. Then the messages began. Eleanor-chan, you're ruthless. Don't do this to me. Eleanor, I miss your winter melon and pork rib soup. Eleanor, I regret everything. If I asked now, if I said let's get married, is it too late? How are you? How's the baby? I miss you both so much. My hand trembled, hovering over the screen. I hastily switched my phone to airplane mode, but sleep eluded me for the rest of the night. I lay there, eyes wide open in the dark. Around 10 a.m. the next morning, I called Catherine Evans. Catherine was the VP of Julian's department, a connection I had carefully cultivated over the years. 10 a.m. was her usual start time. She was incredibly busy, And I never bothered her with non-work matters outside of office hours. Catherine, sorry to bother you. I was just wondering. Has something happened with Julian? Catherine paused. He's no longer with the company, Eleanor. He resigned. She was heading into a meeting, so she kept it brief. Julian had performed adequately, but there were others more capable. Crucially, his interpersonal skills were lacking. He was too demanding, and his team didn't respect him. In the past, I had smoothed over many ruffled feathers for him, sent gifts, built bridges. Now that I was gone, naturally no one was doing that anymore. Catherine lowered her voice. But none of that was the main reason. After that incident involving you, word came down from the top. They couldn't keep him. HR basically forced his resignation. That incident? Involving me? The top? Someone higher than Catherine? That could only mean the big boss, the owner. Fragments began to click into place. Disparate pieces of a puzzle I couldn't quite assemble yet. Catherine rushed off the line. I sat on the sofa, staring blankly into space, deliberately ignoring the notification bubble showing 99+ unread messages on my WeChat. Bang! My front door practically flew open, crashing against the wall. I leaped up from the sofa, clutching a throw pillow like a shield. Ivy, seriously, can you please not make every entrance like you're starring in an action movie? Recognizing the intruder, I sighed, exasperated. Ivy stood panting in the doorway, yelling, "What happened? Why weren't you answering your phone? Why didn't you reply to my messages?" I dug a finger in my ear, feeling like the sonic boom had collapsed my eardrum. I opened WeChat. 98 of the unread messages were from Ivy. Only one was from Julian. Julian's last message. "What exactly is going on between you and Ivy phone?" Ivy's messages were a frantic progression. "Good night. Why did you sleep without saying good night? Okay, sleep well. Good morning. Why aren't you replying? Shit, why isn't your phone connecting? %carat and %hashtag at dollar at hashtag %*. What happened to you? Don't let anything happen. I'm coming over right now. Don't let anything happen. Do you hear me? I'm almost there. Asterisk. Air. Hi. You're here. I'm fine. I offered weakly. Ivy glared at me, still catching her breath, a vein throbbing in her forehead. Then came a commotion from the hallway. Squeezing in behind Ivy was a veritable crowd. Doctors, paramedics, firefighters. Looking closer, I noticed the expensive logo embroidered on the doctors' white coats. The insignia of that ultra-pricey private hospital I couldn't even afford a checkup at. Ivy finally caught her breath, turning to address the assembled emergency personnel. "Sorry everyone, false alarm. It was a misunderstanding. I'll cover any costs incurred today." The crowd dispersed as quickly as it had gathered, leaving a bewildered silence in their wake. I hugged the pillow tighter, sitting primly on the sofa, blinking up at her with my most innocent expression. Don't ask, I learned it from her. She sank into the armchair opposite me, arms crossed, pointedly ignoring me. I poked her shoulder. No response. I poked her cheek. Still nothing. All right, desperate times. I scooted over onto the armchair beside her, squishing myself against her until she was practically deformed. "Don't be mad," I wheedled. "Julian was harassing me with messages last night, so I put my phone on airplane mode." "He dared contact you again?" Ivy's voice instantly rose an octave. "Yeah, he lost his job, thinks I'm responsible somehow, probably wants revenge. Let him come after me. Why is he bothering you?" Ivy practically roared. "Okay, calm down. I haven't even figured out what really happened." "I did it," Ivy declared abruptly. I said, "Calm down. It seems like something complicated happened, something involving me too. The person who fired him is high up, way above my pay grade, someone I couldn't possibly influence. There must be some." My voice trailed off as the pieces slammed into place, the realization dawning with blinding clarity. "What did you say?" My voice trembled slightly. "You did it." "Yes, me," Ivy confirmed with a nonchalant shrug. "No complex connections. He offended Miss Fong. Offended the Fong family. So the higher-ups let him go." "You? Miss Fong? Ivy Fong? Miss Fong?" My world tilted on its axis. The ridiculous CEO dramas I sometimes watched were happening to me, and the domineering CEO was the rival I hired. How could I have been so dense? She claimed work study, but aside from that first day's plain white t-shirt, Everything she wore looked suspiciously expensive, definitely more than mine. And that complete set of limited edition chrome hearts jewelry she wore for the date? No ordinary student could possibly afford that. Receiving a 250,000 yuan diamond ring, and showing absolutely no inclination to abscond with it, not even seeming particularly interested. Not to mention her sudden transformation into a business whiz. That had to be the result of lifelong grooming by Mr. Feng himself. Miss Feng, I asked faintly. Ivy nodded meekly. Just back from abroad? Been back a while, she answered earnestly. Went through several rounds of quarantine already. Poor family background, 2 brothers needing to do work study, Well, Ivy tilted her head, considering. If you count my father's illegitimate sons, then yes, technically 2 brothers. Family finances are okay, but I had a huge fight with my dad back then. He froze my card, so I genuinely did need to find work. She blinked innocently. Oh, logically sound. Flawless reasoning. I had nothing to say. I just wanted to strangle her. Eleanor sniffle. I was so worried about you. Please don't ask any more questions. Eleanor, are you hungry? You haven't had breakfast yet, right? I'll go make you some congee. Ivy bolted towards the kitchen like a whirlwind, leaving me alone in my utter bewilderment. Not hungry. Not at all. Already full. Of pure, unadulterated melodrama. But watching her bustle around the kitchen preparing food. The feeling wasn't entirely unpleasant. Julian never messaged me again. Ivy mentioned casually that he'd moved back to Beijing. Oh, was all I said. The power of money truly could solve a great many problems. Actually, my main annoyance lately was that the weather was getting colder, the nights longer, and Ivy was incredibly busy. She disappeared during the day on mysterious errands and spent her evenings attending online classes for her university abroad, due to the time difference. A whole week went by where we barely exchanged more than a few sentences. I was annoyed. But then I noticed. I'd lost weight. Yes, without her constant, force-fed nourishing soups and tonics, my waistline had noticeably shrunk. I couldn't help feeling a secret thrill of pleasure. One afternoon, Ivy came home unexpectedly early. I was drowsing on the sofa, half reading a book. She knelt beside me. Eleanor. It's the winter solstice today. I squinted at her. I know. The lamb soup is already simmering. We'll have it tonight. Okay. She squeezed onto the sofa beside me, resting her head on my arm. I have a gift for you. I'll take you to see it tonight. Oh. I raised an eyebrow with exaggerated theatricality. If it's not a 10-carat diamond, I'm not interested. Ha 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 ha. Ivy laughed heartily. Trust me. This is way more dazzling than any pigeon egg diamond. The rich aroma of the lamb soup filled the apartment, bubbling softly from the kitchen. We leaned against each other, lulled by the warmth and the quiet, and drifted off to sleep. It was the warmest winter I'd experienced in my 30 years. Growl. My stomach woke me. I flicked on the lights and hurried to the kitchen. The lamb soup had simmered down to a creamy, milky white, its fragrance intoxicating. Ivy appeared behind me, clinging to my back like a koala. I ladled a spoonful of soup, blew on it gently a few times, and turned to feed it to her. Delicious, she exclaimed, her lips curving into a happy smile, eyes crinkling into crescents. After dinner, Ivy urged me to change and get ready to go out. Sitting in the passenger seat, I was completely baffled. Where are you taking me? This isn't the way to the restaurant. Hey, we are going to the restaurant, she grinned. All right then. So much for a big surprise. Just a routine inspection of the premises. When we arrived, the restaurant's front doors were shut tight. Inside it was pitch black, utterly deserted. This was peak dinner time. It made no sense. Had Ivy managed to run the business into the ground during my 2-week absence? Eleanor, close your eyes. A typical cheesy CEO move. Always with the dramatic reveals. I closed my eyes obediently. She took my hand and led me inside. Okay, you can open them now. I opened my eyes and gasped. Above me, swirling across the vast, darkened space, were nebulae of breathtaking color. The Milky Way stretched out, stars glittering like diamond dust, seemingly close enough to touch. I reached out a hand and a shooting star streaked across my vision, appearing to fall through my fingertips. Tears welled up, spilling over, tracing paths down my cheeks like the falling stars. Eleanor? Do you like it? Ivy whispered beside me. Like it? Of course I liked it. This burning, brilliant river of stars. I accepted it. Ivy, thank you. I'll remember tonight. Now in the future, always. This was my restaurant, yet it wasn't entirely mine anymore. Ivy had knocked down the walls of the adjacent shops, expanding the space to a massive 2,000 square meters. Tonight, the vast, empty restaurant was filled only with us and countless star projectors, casting an entire galaxy just for me. Eleanor, Ivy said softly, gently embracing me from behind. You're not just a fiery chili pepper. You're a star. Tonight, she continued, her voice filled with quiet awe. Jupiter and Saturn will align perfectly, creating the Bethlehem star, the brightest conjunction. It only happens once every 800 years. Eleanor, do you realize how precious, how rare you are? I mumbled, trying to lighten the intensity. Got it. I'm Jupiternanian to Saturnani company. A weak pun on the planet's names. Ivy chuckled, nudging me playfully. You really know how to ruin a moment, don't you? It's your cheesy SEO lines, sister, I retorted, bumping her gently back. Okay. Just one last thing. Today is the winter solstice. The longest night is ending. From now on, the darkness recedes. I hope. Bang! A huge firework exploded outside, painting the night sky with brilliant color. The loud crackle drowned out the rest of her sentence. But I knew. Whatever her hope was, it was my hope too.